Our profound gratitude and appreciation to Matanuska Valley Federal Credit Union for its 75 years of exemplary service and for its continuous efforts to build.
はじめまして、私の名前はアメリアです。アラスカ数学と理科とスタイとジュニア生でしたいです。ホスト家族と一緒にお前で本は取りたいです。どうぞよろしくお願いします。I'm Amelia. I am 14 years old. I go to Palmer Junior Middle School, and I enjoy drawing, cooking, baking, and science. In Saroma, I want to go shopping and take pictures. At school, I want to take a science class and a math class and gym. I don't know. With my host family, I want to make a scrapbook. Thank you.
こんばんは、皆さん。はじめまして。私の名前はマギー・ワイズンハントです。アラスカのパーマ市から来ました。私は17歳でパーマ高校の3年生です。私の趣味は絵を描くことと音楽を聴くこととローラースケートをすることです。ソロマで観光に行きたいです。そして学校で美術の授業を経験したいです。ホスト家族と一緒に料理を作りたいです。はい。楽しみどうぞよろしくお願いします。Hello everyone, my name is Maggie Weisenhand. I am 17 and I'm a junior at Palmer High. I would like to experience in Soroma. I would like to go sightseeing, and at school I'd like to do an art class. My hobbies are drawing, listening to music, roller skating, so I would actually like to roller skate as well in Soroma. With my host family, I would like to do a lot of cooking and hopefully learn a lot of new recipes. And thank you all very much. Yeah. こんばんは、皆さん。はじめまして。私の名前はマケナ・ピケトです。アラスカのパーマ市から来ましたか？私は17歳でパーマ高校の3年生です。趣味は料理をすることと植物の世話をすることと旅行をすることです。ソロマ町でソロマのお寺に行きたいです。学校で料理の授業を経験したいです。ホスト家族と一緒に日本のゲームナイトをしたいです。どうぞよろしくお願いします。Hello, my name is McKenna Pickett. I am 17 years old and I just finished my junior year at Palmer High School. And my hobbies include taking care of plants, cooking, and traveling. In Saroma, I would like to go to their temple. And at the high school, I would like to be included in a cooking class. And with my host family, I would love to do a game night with them. Thank you for everything that you supported for us. And thank you. Yeah.
Okay, はじめまして。私の名前はサイラスです。アラスカのパマシから来ました。Okay, hold on, guys. Okay, never mind. 趣味はスター・ウォーズとレゴスと科学。 Soromacho de Ohotsu Kaigen desu Ringu ho Shitai desu. Gaku de Bukatsu ni Sanka Shitai desu. Hosuto Kozuka Isho ni Nihon ho no Gimu wo Shitai desu. どうぞよろしくお願いします。Okay. Hello, nice to meet you. My name is Cyrus Pilgrim. I am from Palmer, Alaska, and I am 13 years old and I'm a 7th grader at Palmer Junior Middle School. My hobbies are Star Wars, Legos, and science. In Soroma, I would like to bike around on the Ohotsu Coast, northernmost Hokkaido, you know. At school, I would like to participate in clubs. With my host family, I would like to have a game night, preferably video games. Thank you for the scholarship and the money that sent us to Japan with money and scholarship. Thank you.
はじめまして、皆さん。私の名前はジェイコブ・サンダースです。ラスカのパーマ市から来ました。私は16歳でパーマ高校の2年生です。趣味は絵を描くことと D&D というゲームをすることと学ぶことです。まず、ソロマ町にの人気なレストランで食べたいです。そして学校で英語と数学の授業を経験したいです。それからホスト家族と一緒に料理を作りたいです。そして日本の食べ物を食べてみたいです。楽しみにしています。どうぞよろしくお願いします。Good evening, everyone. My name is Jacob Saunders, and I want to start off by saying I'm really thankful for the help you guys have given us on the exchange program. I've been really excited for this trip, and it will help a lot. Like I said, I'm Jacob Saunders. I'm 16. I'm from Palmer, Alaska, and I'm in my second year of high school at Palmer High School. My hobbies include drawing, and I like playing D&D and learning about various topics and subjects. In Soroma, I'm really excited to try out all the different restaurants they have in Soroma and take a math class and an English class there. I thought that would be really interesting. And I'm really excited to cook with my host family and make food and eat that food. And all of that has been made possible with the help of you guys. So again, I'm really thankful for the money you've granted us to help out with the trip. Thank you.
Is this on? Oh, hello. はじめまして、皆さん。私の名前はジェイマソン・ローラです。私は17歳でパーマ高校の3年生です。趣味は YouTube のライブストリームをすることと漫画を読むことと旅行することです。ソロマ町でコロイワの山に登りたいです。そして学校で掃除の時間を経験したいです。ホスト家族と一緒に旅行をしたいです。どうぞよろしくお願いします。Good evening, everyone. My name is Jameson Roa. First of all, I just want to say thank you all so much for the scholarships. You've heard it from like 9 different people at this point, but really, we can't stress it enough. We just want to say thank you so much for everything. I'm 17 years old, and I just finished up my junior year at Palmer High School. some of my hobbies include doing YouTube live streams. I like reading manga and also traveling. In Soroma, I'd really like to climb up Mount Horoiwa. I heard it's like climbing the butte almost. So I really look forward to that. At the school, I want to experience their cleaning time. I've never really had something like that before over here, so I definitely also look forward to that. And with my host family, I want to just do some traveling because it's been a long time since I've been to Japan. So yes, once again, I just want to say thank you so much for everything and the scholarships. We all really appreciate it, and we can't stress it enough. Thank you.
はじめまして。私の名前は Aaron Pilgrim です。Oh, now I have to cheat as well. アラスカのカモシからカモシカ。私は40ノリカと数学の先生です。趣味は散歩をすることと詩は苦手とサイクリングをすることとハイキングをすること。ソロマコでサイクリングをしたいです。詳細堀はの山にも乗りたいです。学で理科と美術の授業を見たいです。ホスト家族と一緒に家族の食を食べたいです。ソロマの周りもディオコしたいです。どうぞよろしくお願いします。Thank you guys so much. My name is Aaron Pilgrim. I am a teacher at Palmer Junior Middle School. I teach both math and science. This is my 13th year in the Matsui School District, but my 17th year teaching. I am super excited and privileged to join these amazing delegates that you guys have just met on our journey to Soroma, Japan and Hokkaido. We cannot stress enough, just like Jameson has said, we are very thankful for your generous contribution to this trip. It means a lot for us to be able to travel overseas and continue the tradition of Palmer and Soroma. Some of my hobbies include biking and gardening and hiking and skiing and everything that we of course, we enjoy here in the city of Palmer area. And when I'm in Soroma, I actually just want to absorb myself into the culture with my host family. I want to try a bunch of new foods. I want to tour Hokkaido area. And I want to participate in science and math classes, of course, within the school during the day, and maybe a little bit of art. So thank you guys so much. We really appreciate it. And I will turn it over to our last delegate.
Hi, I'm sorry for being late. I had a soccer banquet I was attending for Palmer High School. Konbanwa minasan, hajimemashite. Watashi no name wa Emma Kichi desu. Raska no Pamashi shimashita no. Kimashita. Watashi wa 15歳でパマココの2年生です。趣味はサッカーをすることと料理をすることと日本の漫画を読むことです。そのちょっといろいろなところを見たいです。学校で部活に参加したいです。ホスト家族と一緒に日本料理をすることです。どうぞよろしくお願いします。Thank you for donating all the money for us to go to Japan. It means a lot. It's nice to meet you. My name is Emma Keachley. I am 15 years old, and I just finished my sophomore year at Palmer High School. My hobbies include playing soccer, cooking, and reading Japanese comics or manga. In Soroma, I just want to explore, look around, see a bunch of different things. While at school in Soroma, I want to join a bunch of different clubs and just experience how they do things at Soroma High School. And with my host family, I will learn unique Japanese cooking and family recipes and whatnot. Thank you very much, and may your relationship be prosperous.
はじめまして。私の名前はタニレンです。
My name is Tanya Lang. I am Palmer Soromakai treasurer. I am a teacher at Sheridan Elementary, and I am the granddaughter of Edward Holmes, who was one of the co-founders of the Soroma program. And I am here. I've gone actually twice to Japan, once as an 8-year-old at Sheridan Elementary with my grandfather, and then another I got to take middle school students from Palmer Junior Middle School a few years back. So I am here on behalf of Palmer Soromakai to give the students and the staff taking them a check to more money donated to you guys to go out and have fun, dinner and some outing that Swick Sensei will figure out what it is so that you guys can go out and have some little extra fun on Palmer Soromakai. So thank you very much and have fun. You guys are gonna have a blast.
So our finance said we could only do one check, so we wanted to make sure it was a good representative.
Can we get a joke?
Oh, yeah. And we'll take a short recess. So I believe it's in a couple years we're supposed to send a delegation to Saroma from the city. You'll have to learn Japanese to do that. You thought reading a proclamation was bad in English. Okay, next we have reports, city manager's report.
Yes, I mean, that was so good. Start a meeting. I think maybe we should maybe just like stop right now and go home, enjoy the weather. So thank you very much. I got some stuff tonight. Next meeting, June 13th, is my understanding the mayor is going to be doing council of the whole for discussion regarding the MPO issue. And thanks to Shelley, you're welcome. You don't have to talk about that tonight. But the Fairbanks MPO director, Jackson Fox, is going to come down and be a part of that. So you can, instead of hearing from people who are putting something together, you can talk to somebody who is actually operating this, and he'll be available for any questions, concerns, thoughts you may have. Just so you know, we are down a code enforcement and building official at this point in time. So we'll be actively seeking that position. A lot of construction going over onto the airport. That's a $10 million grant that we have to do in the taxiway north, which will create some additional lease lots for us. Myself and Jude are going to be talking to Muckety Mucks of DOT regarding the Glen Highway Phase 2. You know, we have a part of that for the utilities, and we have we've not seen eye to eye yet, so we're going to see what we can accomplish tomorrow. For the library opened Thursday at what the mayor's calling the Arctic Green Building. They had a ribbon cutting today at noon, and so we're happy about that. And on Friday, our RFPs for architectural services for what we're doing next, we received 5 RFPs, so we'll be going through that and bring that to City Council shortly. Last meeting, I was given an assignment of a parking plan. I have put this together. I have done it. If you said, John, what would you do about that? That's what this report shows. You just got it tonight, and so what I'd like to do is discuss it during the next report of the city manager next meeting, not tonight. And I'm available for any questions or comments, or what about this, if you need something else prepared. Also, too, we are, thanks in the budget, we are putting together an RFP phone replacement system. We're finding that we have old equipment that cannot be fixed and is not working properly. Fun stuff coming up. May 27th through 29th, Rodeo Alaska, which you contributed to, is coming. Memorial Day weekend. Colony Days is June 9th through 11th. The Miners Day, where we host a game at the ballpark, is June 20th. The Scottish Highland Games come June 24th and 25th. And Friday Flings has been back for 2 Fridays thus far. So just in speed of things, when you're going through for your public hearings, we have Resolution 23014. This is to authorize a wheel loader for the amount of $341,000. It's replacing a 1999 wheel loader. This is not in this budget. It was on the 5-year capital plan for next year. But going through what we went through this winter, where the current 1999 loader was down, could not find parts for that, and so it was not available to us. So we think it's imperative to provide services to replace that, and would consider moving that up a year so we can do much better next winter. Resolution 2315, we are asking for $583,000 for the repairs, for installation repairs of Reservoir 4. That will all be reimbursed on our insurance. It's agreed to reinsurance, but we have to pay up front to get reimbursed. Resolution 23116. This is something new and kind of ties in with our current issue on vagrancy. We were able to get a grant for $89,000 for really a case manager and services for those in our community to need services and direct those folks in the right direction. Action memorandum, we have folks here for Arctic Winter Games for a waiver of facility fees. Your manager is in support of that. Encourage you to approve that. Action memorandum 23031, ice resurfacer. So we have set aside $136,000 each year. This is to replace the Zamboni, but Brad was able to get a $75,000 grant to contribute for that, and we just need $25,000 more to get that done. It's replacing something that's very worn out, and we're able to go, I think, with electric by getting that $75,000 grant. We have yellow curb painting. I think somebody was very concerned about the curbs being painted yellow, and it's been over a year since that promise was been made, and she's not paying any attention to me. Okay.
Taking notes.
Utility connection, we're looking at extending water outside the city limits for 40 housing units on Scott Road. We have the capacity to do so. That's something to consider. We're asking for approval on that. We got a reverse here that Shelley will tell you about, but we have $867,000 for the other part of the reservoir repairs project, and then following $32,000 to construction administration. And that is pretty much it for tonight. I wanted to give you brief because I know we've had a pretty agenda-packed meeting, and I thought we could maybe zoom through some of this stuff. Thank you.
All right. Does council have any questions for the manager this time? Okay. Actually?
Yes, actually.
Councilman Best.
Thank you. Mr. Mayor, to the manager, our meeting where we're going to have the MPO with Fairbanks participating, will we be able to have contact with the governor's office who is receiving or who has received this information? That's something that I'm very curious about is in this process, this will get submitted to the governor's office. I would like to know to whom at the governor's office. And I would like to understand more of their policies and procedures because as we have all kind of started to peel the layers back on this, there's multiple levels, multiple layers, and it's not clear. And so I want to make sure that we and our citizens understand exactly this portion of the process so that we can advocate as a council or individuals on this process. So if you could get that information back, and it would be great if somebody from the governor's office could participate in that has answers.
I will make that request and see if we can shoot to have them here at the same time.
No other questions at this time for the manager? Okay. Next is the mayor's report. I had a written report there. As the manager mentioned, we had a ribbon cutting today, kind of opening the storefront library. And there was a few people there, some kind of low-level excitement that it's open again. And in my report, I included a little bit of kind of bullet points about the Rybarczyk pit. I just wanted to give the council a little bit of background. So it had been brought up from the public. And that's something, if we want to get some more clarification on some of the history and stuff, we could have maybe the next meeting, a little bit of a report if anyone is interested in the monofill that is there. But is there any questions for me for my report? Okay. City clerk's report.
I don't have a formal report, but I'm happy to answer questions from the council.
Any questions for the clerk from the council? Okay. City attorney's report. Madam Attorney.
Good evening. I just wanted to quickly give you an update regarding at the last meeting you asked me to begin to look into the council's code of conduct and ethics. So I've begun that, but I've not finished an analysis in regards to that. I wanted to quickly kind of overview it that it may be valuable to address it solely as a code of conduct and then maybe go through it item by item and then have you all ask me questions as we go through some of those processes. But ultimately, the whole basis of the code of ethics, it's a self-enforcing and agreeing to a code that it's going to apply to individuals. So it's really, it is in answer to the initial request regarding Councilman Best, it is highly redundant in that the whole purpose of it is an explanation of the many assigned duties that are in the Alaska statutes, which all city council members fall under, and the Palmer Municipal Code. So really, the Code of Conduct and Ethics operates more as a city council's training handbook with do's and don'ts rather than a formal code, since the code we have would be Title 29 under the Alaska statutes and the Palmer Municipal Code in terms of enforcement components. It does have rather vague language that is drafted, I'm assuming to allow for case-by-case issues to have some breathing room and credibility and analysis, but it is not the same as a disciplinary code, which was some of the questions that arise. The only real teeth or accountability that I've been able to find so far is mentioned in the Code of Ethics and the Code of Conduct. They're combined into one item, which is interesting. Is it's directing the reader to, of course, state and municipal code, but it procedurally directs any concerns to, one, allow the council to issue a reprimand or a formal censure, but it doesn't define or clarify what either of those mean for the council or offer you any procedural steps to be able to implement that. So that may be a consideration that the council would like to consider, you know, having a separate actual disciplinary code and how that's interpreted from the Palmer Code that we have in place. It also allows the city council to authorize myself or the city manager or a third party to do an investigation on an individual basis. But again, it doesn't procedurally outline what that looks like or how that comes about. So I'll continue to dig into this and report to you at a later council meeting, but I would like to highlight it. It might be the most valuable to address it as we go through and I kind of separate. This is like your more of a training manual component, and this would be more a teeth and enforcement component that would need a robust, more robust disciplinary element or disciplinary procedural code that should the council like to implement that.
Is there any questions for the attorney? Time? Okay. Next, we have audience participation. Council meeting rules protect your right to testify and be heard even if others in the room disagree with you. Council meeting rules also ensure that those attending can express their views if they do not interfere with the rights of others to see and hear the proceedings. At all times, order and decorum will be maintained in keeping with the dignity of the legislative process. And as you might expect, the views and opinions expressed during audience participation are those of the speakers and do not reflect the view or opinion of the city or its officials. So we'll open audience participation, and there's a sign-in sheet. Oh, it's on the table. Okay. You want to just leave it on the table? Well, you can just leave it there for them to sign as they come up. They'll have to announce their name at the beginning, which they're supposed to do anyway. Oh.
Hi, I'm Jay. I'm Jackie Goforth. I want you to know I was in a hearing about this book on Thursday, but when you talk to 4 librarians about a book, it does not a fair hearing make. So I told you my daughter has a master's degree in library science, and that way back when, she coded my books, and she did. These are some of them. They'll come into play in a moment. Now you remember almost a year ago, late summer, I was here with my granddaughter. And I spoke to you at the time and I was talking about...
They might have turned off.
Do I get my time back or are you taking me or what? No.
I don't know. There we go.
Okay, so do I start over? What do I do?
Just keep going.
Continue on, yeah.
Take it away? Okay, what happened with those 15 seconds? I was here with my granddaughter, and I told you because I had to spell it out. Because I had seen the pride flag on the museum page, and I was very offended by that. And I said at the time that I do not care what orifice people put their parts in. I do not care what parts they cut off. I do not care what parts they cut on. I have absolutely no
care in the world about that, as long as they're adults. But when they cross into children, they get a very upset grandma. Now, this book is pushing transgenderism and it's grooming. Let me tell you what the librarian board director, Mary Fisher from Talkeetna, said, and I quote, "If this book were handed to each child when it came in, or recommended to each child when it came in, and there were posters on the wall of the pictures in it, that would be grooming. Putting a book on the shelf is not grooming. It is not pushing anything. It's simply giving a point of view. The phrase grooming children says, befriending and establishing an emotional connection with a child under the age of consent and sometimes the child's family to lower the child's inhibitions with the objective of sexual abuse." That is from Wikipedia. Everyone knows what grooming means, and I'll explain it. This is a book on the Count of Monte Cristo. It's coded under 1 because it's fiction. Okay? If I push this into a child's hand, is that grooming? If I push it and put pictures on the walls, is that grooming? No. This is the Lives of the Noble Romans. It's a 2 because it's nonfiction, okay? If I push this into a child's hand, is that grooming? No. If I put pictures of it on the wall, is it grooming? No. Here's the companion piece, The Lives of the Noble Greeks. Is anything to do with these books grooming, regardless of where they are on which shelf? The answer is no, because it's the sexual content of the book that makes it grooming. Now, when I first started telling you that I was offended at the pride flag, I started handing out pamphlets to you. I handed you packets of what was happening in the gay community and in the LGBT community when they were doing gay pride. And in October or November, I was told that they would no longer be passed out by the clerk because they were pornographic. Do you remember that? We all remember that, right? I want a hearing, please, because this is in the Palmer Library.
Your time is
And
up.
it's grooming. Thank you. Looks like Karen's up next. Yeah.
Thanks.
You might have to announce that.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and Assembly people, and everybody else. There are 4 very bad books in Palmer.
So start with your name, please.
Karen Lewis.
Can you have me move the microphone just a
Oh.
little closer, or maybe perhaps?
There are 4 obscene books in the Palmer Library. Not in the adult section, for 14-year-olds. 14. And I just found out about this recently and about Flip My Lid. So I started doing some research, and this is how the standards are. If the books the books are obscene, and this proves it. These are excerpts from 4 of the books plus the Miller test on the back of these. I made some for each of you so you can see, and it just has the bad parts of each of these 4 books. I challenge you to read these. You will be disgusted. You will be appalled, and I hope you do something about it. So I have 8, and should I just give them to you?
You can bring them to the clerk here, and she'll.
There's one. I apologize for giving you this too. You're going to be sick when you read this. This is in our library, so you need to look at it and you need to do something about it. This right here is tame compared to what you're going to see in there. This is the gal taking a selfie of her private parts, okay? And they say in here, on the last page, it says, before you start sending your naughty masterpieces around the world, take some time to get friendly with photo editing software and apps. Digital photos are permanent and impossible to retract once they're out there. And then it says, it's also really important to be aware of age laws where you live. As exciting as sexting is, there are serious legal consequences for sharing naked photos of folks under 18, even if the photos of you are good, and you're sharing them with someone who's the same age. So no matter how hot to trot you are right now, wait till you're a legal adult, you hornball. That's what it says. This is what, these books are in our Palmer Library in YA, which is young adult. By the way, 14-year-olds are not adults, but they put it in young adult for 14-year-olds. We are a beautiful little city here. I've been here almost 40 years. I love it. But to have this garbage in our libraries it's obscene. And these books are obscene. Please do something about it, you guys. Please do something about it. There's enough for you two over there if you'd like. I could just hand them out. I have it in packets.
No. We come here.
Thank you. There's one packet. There's another packet.
Okay.
Maybe one for you too, Mr. Mayor.
Thanks, I think.
Don't know the rules. Okay, say the number.
Still mine.
You will be shocked. Thank you for hearing. Please do something about this, all right?
Can you see who's next on our list there?
It is Edith.
Edith? Okay.
Thank you for hearing us.
Good evening. My name is Edith Westcott. I'm a resident here in the city of Palmer. I love the place, by the way. I am here to make it known that we, the residents of Chugach Estates and Colony Estates, is getting a rent increase. Some of us did not get a $200 increase in our Social Security checks. But we are getting a $200 rent increase this year. June 1st, it goes up 100. August 1st, it goes up another 100. How do we, on Social Security, limited income, pay our rent, our medical bills, our food, and if we have vehicles, how do we pay for the gas to get to our doctor appointments? I have been advised to start a petition. I've never done anything like this before, but if anybody's interested, I am looking for signatures, and I'm asking for an audit of the Palmer Senior Center doing business as Matsu Senior Services. I'd like to know where all their money went that we've been paying and as rent. And I'd also like to know, who do I turn the petition into? I have called Senator Lisa Murkowski. By the way, we're not in her jurisdiction. That's what I was told. And I called Senator Shelley Hughes. She is upset about it. And she called Senator Dan Sullivan. I haven't heard from him. I have called you, Mayor, twice in the last 2 weeks to try and talk with you to find out what we can do. Give us some advice. And you've been way too busy. So thank you for letting me speak at your meeting tonight.
Thank you. Thank you, Edith.
My name is Christine Jones, and I also live over there at the Colony Estates apartments. I also got a rent increase. My concern at this point is they stopped feeding the lunches to us in February, actually February 17th. They still have not, they have no plans of reinstating the meals. My concern is when they did the rent increase, the treasurer for the board of directors said, we haven't done anything since 2009. We had to do something. Why did it take them 14 years? They could have been increasing the rent every couple of years by $50 or whatever, instead of $200, $250, or $300. My concern is most of us would like to have an outside audit. Now, our board of directors, the CEO, the COO, we're handling that. We're doing an audit. We want an independent audit done. We want to know where all of the grant monies have gone. Why are we in such terrible shape? They've said if they close the senior center, they'll shut down those 2 apartment buildings, the Chugat Estates and Colony Estates. What would the 50 people or so do at that point? Some of us could be homeless by August or September with the rent increase. So I'm just asking, what can we do to get people more outraged about what's going on over there at the Senior Palmer Center? You know, we need help desperately, but we've called people, you don't get any response back from them. We feel like we're being ignored or just drowning, you know, because nobody wants to step up and do anything. But thank you all for listening. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Travis.
Travis, I live in Palmer, and since the last time.
What's your last name, Travis?
Oh, Travis Friesen.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Since the last time we met, I've tried to get into contact with Public Works to push for putting recycle bins across the city. And I was told that they would need to have some funding. And to do that, they said that I would like to request funding for special disposal bins to put around the city. For recycling, whether it be bottles and papers, stuff like that. So I don't know exactly how that works out. How do we put in a plan to raise the special funding for that? So I would like to, get your input and how this all is put together, because I would like to learn more about this, because I'm a man of passion, and I think this is a passionate issue that I like to see and see my fruits of my labor, something like that. I don't have very much to say. I wish I had pamphlets to give you all, like everybody else, but it's just me. So, thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else for audience participation that hasn't spoken yet?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Watashi no namae Michael Malevsky desu. By now, you've learned enough Japanese to not have me repeat it in English, I'm guessing. I just wanted to say a couple things. One, there's been mention made of a need for a replacement because the building inspector and code compliance has moved on. I want to say two things about this. First, a thank you to the council because you generously provided some funds that allowed us to complete the installation of our auto-start backup generator, which became very complicated because we happen to have a three-phase building service there. But it's done and will be operational this weekend. In the interim, Mr. Hanson was able to obtain the services of a well-known figure here in Palmer, Dave Meneses, who had formerly been in that position as code compliance officer for many years. And he was able to come by and do what he needed to do to say this is appropriate, and that worked. But I wanted to point out that I believe that even though it is one of those situations where it's difficult to find someone to fit that position, because it's a highly trained position. It's not something you just say, oh, yeah, I've built a few houses or something. But Mr. Hanson and the rest of the staff have been able to provide coverage that, in our case, made it work very nicely. The second thing I wanted to do was to say I've had some concern about the Palmer Senior Center once I understood that the services were being reduced, and I think it was emphasized today. I formerly served on the WASI Board of Directors over in Wasilla. And if any of you have been over in Wasilla recently, you'll notice that they have a burgeoning set of apartments. At the time I was there, we were certainly doing audits, et cetera, and it required attention. But the thing I wanted to invite you to do is to have someone from the council, whether it's formally or informally, be there. It's more difficult now because those meals aren't being provided. But as I remember from my days at WASI, we'd have the Wasilla mayor, or we'd have other people that were there, not because they were intruding on the board of WASI and its work, but they were there to get a feel for what was happening. And I think what has been referred to here is something that didn't just happen overnight. Obviously, it was over a period of time. And I think your task, and it's going to be a difficult one, is to figure out how this is a nonprofit there and how you want to relate to it as you've been looking at other institutions in the city. But I wish you well. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else for audience participation that hasn't spoken yet?
Hi, my name is Ben Rawle. I'm the venues program manager for Arctic Winter Games. I just wanted to give you an update on what was happening in Palmer. The week before last, we hosted 35 members of the international community. There are the Arctic Winter Games International Committee, which is like our governing body, and also what we call the Chefs de Mission, and they're the team leaders of the 8 contingents that will be bringing their athletes to Palmer and the rest of the valley next year. They toured all of our venues. They toured all of our villages, which are the high schools and middle schools in the valley. And they stayed in downtown Palmer. They ate in downtown Palmer. They loved the city of Palmer. They were very impressed with the views, of course. They were taking lots of pictures. And they'll be back in September to check on how our planning is going. And we look forward to hosting them again this fall.
Thank you. Is there anyone else for audience participation? Whoa. We actually have another audience participation coming up as well. Come forth, Susan, and tell us your name.
My name's Susan Coucher, and I'm coming in support of the Palmer Library. Today I went to the ribbon cutting and went into the small temporary library. Took a look around. It was nice to see children there checking out books. It was nice to see adults who were there and happy to be able to have a book in your hand instead of an e-reader. And it was a great little ceremony. I wanted to address that libraries are a big part of our community, and libraries are supported by many. I was recently at Friday Fling, and the Friends of the Palmer Library had a booth there, spoke with many people, had about $500 in donations given for people who supported the library and wanted to see that back up and going, and were proud of our community of Palmer. Today, when I was at the library, I went and checked the shelves. The book that Mrs. Goforth talked about is not on the shelf. I don't know the other 3 books that the other lady was speaking about, but I really enjoy my First Amendment rights as part of living in this country. And part of those First Amendment rights is that other people don't get to decide what we read, what we hear, what we're exposed to. And I feel like there might be different groups at work here being reactionary from things that are happening in other communities around our nation, but they are trying to limit our First Amendment rights. And I just want you to think about that a little bit. I value my First Amendment rights, and I believe you too value your First Amendment rights. So before you start thinking about curbing some of those First Amendment rights, just think about it. Think that, you know, the people in Palmer appreciate the country that we live in and the rights we're given. So, thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else for audience participation?
Good evening, everyone. My name is Cindy Hudgens, and I live here in Palmer. The issue going on with books, we hear a lot about, oh, you're infringing on my First Amendment rights. I have a right to read these books. This is adults, okay? You know, as an adult, you can read whatever you want. Although we are told that there is no X-rated section in the library. Well, I think there are some books that need to go into the X-rated section. And if it's a book in a young adult section, when you read those papers, it will blow your mind what is in young adults. You know, Jackie, a few weeks ago, she gave a history on how porn got put into books. They decided that without a porn section, they could just kind of filter it into other areas, hide it in there throughout the books, and that way they would get it out there to the people anyway. So the romance was changed a little bit. The whole LGBTQ agenda was filled with it. So we don't have an issue with libraries. Libraries are good. They are good community places. We don't have an issue with the public funding of libraries. The issue is the indoctrination and the sexualization of children. It's happening in our schools. It's happening in our public libraries. It is an agenda. And I'm just floored at the adults that support this, at the parents that support this for their children. My goodness. The Bible talks about the last days. Right will be wrong and wrong will be right. And let me tell you, we are in those days right now where these immoral filth is portrayed as sex education, as good learning. That's not how it is. That's not how it should be. We, as adults, should protect children. Children should have the time to remain children, not to be sexualized. It's disgusting. It's not banning books. It's taking them off the shelf where they are not available for children. I mean, they're still available to go order for yourself, to go buy for yourself. But they shouldn't be available for children. It's disgusting. Anyway, thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else other than Wes? No, come forward, Ross.
Wesley Arts Palmer Bar. I can tell by the turnout that we have in here, we need a bigger town hall. Mental note, it seems like a lot of the issues that people are talking about are growing pains in the community. Everything from people wanting recycling to how the community is changing. We got to try to keep the community what makes Palmer Palmer. A lot of the big issues that we're dealing with is Palmer's growing. We just have to anticipate it and watch it as it happens. And all the problems that we hear about, we got to think as we're making these decisions, how is it going to affect Palmer? And how is it going to change it? It is going to change even no matter how much we try to stop it. But just the stuff to think about. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else for audience participation? Okay, we will close this audience participation and go to public hearings. First up, we have resolution number 23-014, authorize the purchase and appropriate funds in the principal amount not to exceed $341,369 to finance the purchase of a new 821G wheel loader from Yukon Equipment, Inc. for Public Works in the amount of $341,369 as a direct replacement for the existing 1999 wheel loader. And we will open the public hearing, and anyone wishing to speak specifically to this resolution, please come forward.
Hello, good evening, Eric Anderson from Palmer. I'm a proponent of government spending on equipment. I always am. We always need more equipment because we don't want that to be excuse of why we can't provide services. With this, I noticed there's a pretty hefty discount. It's looks like about 25% through the deal that we get for from our procurement. I'm just wondering, we just bought a snow blower to back up the other snow blower because it broke. Maybe we can allocate or attach to this another snow blower as a backup for the one that we just lost. And that's just an idea because we don't want to run into the same situation we ran into on Scott Road last year with the wind drift and not being able to service the water reservoir or be able to have emergency service vehicles be able to pass through Scott Road, Marsh Road, Palmer Fishhook Road, or wherever a loader might be needed, especially along the airport too. That was drifted over for a few days, and I think if we're buying a loader, we might as well try to take advantage of the discounts and get some equipment with it. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak to this resolution about the wheel loader? Okay, we will close public hearing. What's the wishes of the council?
Move resolution 23-014.
Second. Okay, moved and seconded by Councilman Tudor. Is there any discussion? Any brief comments?
Nope.
From the council member? Councilmember Alcantara.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Appreciate that. It's more of a two-pronged question. First is, Mr. Anderson brought up the Sourcewell discount, and I'm a little nervous because I see in bright red writing on the quotation that it said valid through May 13th, 2023. And looks like it was a 30-day quote. Hope nothing's changed and everything's good. So that's one question. I'll give the second question of when we do this, if we do this, what will the what is currently in the city of Palmer unassigned general fund now? This is taking $341,000 out of that, correct?
Yes. This
Okay.
will this
Ballpark.
will
Okay, you've
be
asked your questions. All right.
insignificant to that. I think conservatively, $5 million, conservatively. I will have the numbers, but we would not bring this forward. This is going to be a financial issue. We look for ways to fund it, so we would not be damaged, so. And thanks for staring them down, Jude.
Okay, is there any other questions? Councilman Tudor?
Hey, Mr. Mayor, just a question. I mean, so I know we had to kind of move up the timetable for this one. How bad is the current loader as far as usability? Is it going to be just totally down for the count once we get this new one in? Is it going to be, kind of limping along a little bit? Or is it like, next year's budget, we got to replace this one too? Or was just curious?
Our current loader that this one would replace if passed, that loader is very sporadic in terms of operation and is due to parts. It is not due to effort by the city's mechanic or the Public Works team. It's just a function of being 24 years old. We are seeing lately, and I'm sure you have witnessed it the last couple of years, a significant increase in loader use. And just for an example, I think I shared this before. Last year alone, this past winter rather, there are 42 cul-de-sacs inside the city limits, and we averaged 3 hours per cul-de-sac to clear the snow, and that was from a 2-day windstorm. And when we clear the snow from the cul-de-sacs, we do it with loaders and dump trucks because nothing else works. So there is a significant amount of time this year. You compound that with last year, 2022. Thankfully, we did not have as much snow during that big windstorm, but we still averaged over 2 hours clearing each cul-de-sac. And I use the cul-de-sacs because those are a point that people can visualize. They see them, and they see how long it takes us. These loaders are used for everything. They all share common attachments. They all perform operations throughout the entire year, whether moving gravel, moving snow, moving sludge out of the wastewater treatment plant lagoons when it's time to clean. So they are in operation year-round. And when they go down, when one goes down and we cannot get parts in a timely manner, there is a chain of events that's set off. And it's very important. These machines should be replaced much sooner than 24 years. We will get this machine fully operational, as we have with our other ones, and then put it onto public surplus to help offset. Loaders are in extremely high demand right now. If this is approved and this loader gets ordered, we have been working with this, our representative for this piece of machinery. We would anticipate then having it by October, which is a fairly quick turnaround on this type of equipment.
Do you see a need to have another one for like next year's budget if we're gonna just make sure we don't overload this one to where we shorten its lifespan or anything?
We do not.
Okay.
And we've been very diligent in our reviews and analysis before coming to you so that we don't waste the money. We did just buy the new snow blower. Thank you very much. That new snow blower will fit on all of our loaders. The attachments are the same, and we ensured that so there is commonality across all of our pieces of equipment like that.
Thank you.
Deputy Mayor Moline.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So I know it's kind of been asked already, but I'm going to ask it kind of in a different way. Are we certain that there's no others, because this is such a great discount and because we have an opportunity to work with this vendor, is there anything else that you can foresee, age limits, et cetera, that we might need to maybe perhaps look at that we could combine this discount and stretch it even further for the next snow?
At this moment, no. And we have gone through every single piece of equipment. As mentioned, and I can't stress it enough, you have been very generous. We have the pieces of equipment on order and some are backlogged. Like, we ordered a sweeper a year ago. So we had to contract out this year to sweep the roads. Our new one now has been pushed back. We believe we'll get it the end of July now. But it is, I thank you very, very much for asking the question. Not at the moment.
And I'll pick on the deputy mayor just to remind people that when we're asking questions, we're really asking through the mayor to the manager, because he's trying to protect his,
Thank you, Mr.
I'm picking on you because otherwise it would have to be Alcantara. So, anyway, thank you.
Oh, it's still good.
Yeah.
The quote is still good. Yes, it is.
Sorry, Mr.
No, that's fine, that's fine. All right, are we ready to vote on this matter? Okay. Madam Clerk, if you can call the roll, please.
Councilmember Ojala?
Yes.
Councilmember Best?
Yes.
Mayor Carrington?
Yes.
Councilmember Alcantara?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Moline?
Yes.
Councilmember Tudor?
Yes.
Councilmember Anzalotti?
Yes.
Unanimous?
Unanimous, okay. Next, we will open a public hearing for resolution number 23-015, authorizing the city manager to advance $583,482 for the general fund unassigned fund balance to the water sewer fund for the insulation repairs to Reservoir 4, heavily damaged in the January 2022 windstorm. We'll open this public hearing. Anyone wishing to speak to this specific resolution, please come forward. Okay, we will close the public hearing. What's the wishes of the council?
Mr. Mayor, move to approve.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Any, Councilwoman Anzalotti?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Am I correct in that we will receive a full insurance reimbursement of this, or is it just partial?
Mr. Manager?
Since you're walking, go ahead.
There will be a full insurance reimbursement. Right now, it's a total of $1 million of insurance for that specific location. Some of the delays we're dealing with FEMA, and we are just closing out now our FEMA portion of all of the reviews, the analysis, and the compilation of photos and documentation. It just takes a long time. Most of the folks that have been helping the city are from out of state. They will be up for 4 or 5 weeks, and then they leave. So yes, it will be fully reimbursed by insurance, and if by some chance insurance does not cover everything, but we do not expect any hidden or unforeseen circumstances to cause this price to go further, then FEMA, we now have it signed, will provide the reimbursement beyond the insurance money.
Okay. All right. Thank you. We ready to vote on this resolution? Madam Clerk, if you can call the roll, please.
Councilmember Tudor?
Yes.
Councilmember Anzalotti?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Moline?
Yes.
Councilmember Alcantara?
Yes.
Mayor Carrington?
Yes.
Councilmember Ojala?
Yes.
Councilmember Best?
Yes.
Unanimous?
Okay. Next, we have a resolution number 23-016, accepting and appropriating Healthy and Equitable Communities grant funds from the State of Alaska Department of Health and Social Services and Division of Public Health in the amount of $89,078 to provide funding to Alaskan local governments in support of creating and sustaining healthy and equitable communities around the state. We will open this resolution for a public hearing. Anyone wishing to speak to this resolution?
My name is Cindy Hudgens, and I live here in Palmer still. I don't know about anybody else, but whenever I hear the words equitable, sustainable, I think of communism, because that is where it comes from. We're looking at the WEF, we're looking at the, now I can't, UN, all of those little letter agencies out there that were created to take control of us. And what I see with this is control. $89,000 to control you and tell you what to do with the next pandemic. And you can be guaranteed that we will have another pandemic. So with the Rona, we had tents set up at Colony Days at the library, at the museum, giving the jab to people, the death jab to people. And we were protesting. We got kicked off the museum property for that, even though it's owned by the city, not the museum. He didn't own that property. So anyway, if we accept this money, this is like they can come back and say, okay, we have a pandemic going on, although they won't call it a pandemic, and we want everybody in your city masked. We want everybody in your city to be vaccinated. We want all the children to be vaccinated. So I just urge you, before you take this blood money, think about what you're doing and what it might mean in the future. I mean, yeah, free money sounds great, but what carrot are they going to dangle down, and what are they going to come after you for? Thank you.
Is there anyone else wishing to speak to resolution number 23-016?
Good evening.
Ms. Polly.
Pardon me. My name is Polly Beth Odom. I'm the Executive Director of Dayberg Incorporated. I've been working closely with the mayor and with Sarah and John to find a way to be able to use money where we might be able to handle the problem of vagrancy in Palmer. This money is going to be used to be able to help people get state IDs if they don't have it. It will be able to help them pay for apartment applications. It will also help for cell phones, for track phones. So we're able to help people get back into the workforce and be able to have people be able to get housed again. So that's what the purpose of this is. It's a one-year proposal. I'm also working with the Matsu Health Foundation to also support the funding to move forward with this. But I just wanted to give some clarification that that's where we see the project work being. We're not worried about any potentials of viruses. What we're trying to do is make sure that we're taking care of the vagrancy problem that you brought to our attention back in October. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak to this resolution?
I'm Travis again. Last time I checked, I live in Palmer. This motion seems kind of little vague to me for someone that, with other people who don't necessarily understand. The last person, understand that it's to, try to help people back on their feet. But when I read the create sustaining healthy and equitable communities around the state, is this just for Palmer, or is it just for the whole state? Furthermore, as far as healthy, do you mean trying to encourage people to eat more healthy, or taking on more healthier habits, such as not smoking or whatever? I would like to request that there be a packet given around so I can read so I can clearly understand precisely what's going on, because the first person probably misunderstood it as something to the effect of 15-minute cities, to where people can control you depending on how much carbon you put in the air, or something to that. So I could tell right away that this is kind of, based on what I'm reading, kind of throwing out some mixed messages to me. So based on the based on what I'm trying to read, it creates more questions for me. In my opinion, the detail's not all there. I hope you understand this. Thank you.
Anyone else wishing to speak to this resolution?
Hi, I'm Jackie Goforth again. Equitability and sustainability are World Economic Forum terms. Equitability, equality means that you start people the same. You give them as much opportunity so they can. Equitability means you make sure they end the same. It's like starting a football game and everybody knows the score because it'll be tied at the end. What you do is ruin the morale for everybody. And everybody says this equitability thing is a really good idea, but they never really say how they're going to do it and exactly how they're going to do it. And why on earth would you put all this equitability money toward the vagrancy problem and not address the senior citizen problem? Why don't they have equitability? I don't understand this. I want to know why we would accept something with any nonprofit attached to it without knowing every bit of the fine print. Because all of these always come with fine print. There should be some kind of accountability for every penny spent, where it goes, and what you're doing is you're enabling a homeless population. Equitability is another World Economic Forum word, and there's never they never show you what the fallout is. Really, they never show you. If you try to make everything equal at the end, you ruin everybody's urge to get ahead and to do things. You ruin the life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness. You ruin the pursuit of happiness. It's what happened in every communist country. That's what equitability means. It means we're all going to be equal at the end. That's what it means. It doesn't mean you give them a hand up. It means you make sure everybody's equal at the end. Even if you look at that picture that I just looked at on the internet to find out, it shows an apple tree and two girls, they're standing there, and the apple tree's leaning over. So the one that has the apples closer, they give her the same ladders, and she gets to reach them sooner. Well, what happened to the ability of the other one to move her ladder, or to go get another option, or to reach for something? What you have done, they said, well, we'll put some boards in, and we'll straighten up the tree, and we'll give it her a higher ladder. Okay, you've made it equal and you've ruined her thrive to survive. That's what happens in communist countries. Seriously, this is a communist tactic. It's exactly a communist tactic, just like equitability, sustainability, all of these nice little wonderful words are communist tactics, and that's exactly what it means. And that's exactly why the new generation loves it so much, because Marxism has been inculcated into our education system. But that's a really long conversation, and I only have about 10 seconds left. So, thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else wishing to speak to this resolution for the public hearing? Mr. Molesky.
Mike Malewski, live at 325 East Fireweed Avenue in beautiful downtown Palmer. I'm happy there were other people who spoke to this issue, because it gave me an opportunity to go online and look at the materials that were provided for this agenda item. I'm sure all of you have read through them. Fairly extensive detail around the arrangement, the MOA, et cetera, with Daybreak. This is not, I think sometimes when a term is used, whether it's equitable or whatever, you miss all of that underlying foundation and detail. And what I saw was a tremendous amount of work, both in terms of dealing with whether this money should come here, and then working out a way with a reputable organization, Daybreak, which in my estimation has done some very good work here over the years, to continue work and focus on one aspect of the population's needs. So I'm encouraging you to support this, because it appears a way to say, okay, here's an organization that can do this and that we can go back to and see just how well they did. So, thank you.
Anyone else wishing to speak to this resolution? Okay. We'll close the public hearing. What's the wishes of the council? Councilman Tudor.
Mr. Mayor, move to approve.
Okay.
Second.
All right, it's been moved and seconded. Maybe I'll start with a little bit of snapshot here of the history of this. Some of this came out of discussions I've had with Polybeth, with Daybreak. And I think, we were saying, gee, if we could just find some money to help work on some of these issues with the homeless. Then the manager brought this grant to my attention. So we looked at it and I said, well, is there any way we can use that grant for dealing with substance abuse, mental illness? Those are some of the key struggles that some of the homeless have. And even though it's not required, I insisted that we have in here, there's a sample agreement that includes a budget of what we're looking at doing with the money. And by the way, there's packets over there. There's 90-some pages for this one. So the title that I have to read for legality's sake is just on the first page. There's more. This section alone has probably 20 pages. So I was just going to give that kind of background. And I don't think I was even using too big of a crowbar to try to get to spend some of this federal money as a pass-through, because I don't think the city should be doing it. But I think Daybreak is already working in this area. So that's kind of why we came up with this, and that they would be reporting on the stats and stuff, and that would go through us to the Department of Health. So now, is there any questions? Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So as I understand it, this is just a pass-through, that the city is not actually, the city is receiving the funds on behalf of Daybreak in order to implement a program for those specific needs. It is not, we're not contributing to that in effect, is that correct?
True. And it's all billable as well, so they would do the work and then bill towards the grant, so.
Thank you.
Councilman Tudor.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just was kind of curious, more long-term. I mean, is this kind of a pilot program, or is this looking to be kind of a long-term thing? I was just kind of curious what, because this is obviously going to be ending here.
Yeah, I believe a pilot program is probably a good term for it. I think she's looking at this year, but she's already been having discussions like the Mental Health Trust and Matsu Health Foundation for other sources of funding too.
Have there, just kind of follow up, has there been other communities around Alaska that have done this program? I know this is pretty new, so the answer could be no, but have they seen any results so far, if they've been able to implement this?
I don't know of any.
Just curious.
But. Eddie, Councilman Best.
Could I get the attorney's position on this?
Sure. Madam Attorney.
Yes, so my position, I drafted the MOU and put together the pieces. We dug through this grant that was available from the state. They had, the amounts were specified per community, and they had a list of all the reasons, including COVID vaccines, that could be used by various cities. The city of Palmer is not using it for anything associated with a vaccine related to COVID. However, we currently have our Palmer Police that anytime they meet someone struggling with homelessness out in the valley and they request service or need a resource, we do not have one within City Palmer limits for adults. And so the police will pay and their time for our current police officers, and they will take them to the different resources around the valley as needed to do that. This allows for a specific case manager, which Daybreak has significant history doing. And a case manager is someone that when a homeless individual says, these are my specific needs, that they will help be the matchmaker to facilitate. They'll make some of the phone calls, they'll see if Set Free or My House or whatever is available, and have those connections being made. So if you look at the rough budget, this is just for 1 year, and I don't know what other communities around the states are using this funds for, but this is the entire scope of the only reasons that we were using it for. And we fit that need specifically under all the different options, which you'll look for from the state of Alaska's requirements. And so we will collaborate with Daybreak for a 1-year period. We're the pass-through entity. We're offering, we'll coordinate with them to provide shower and laundry vouchers for our local facilities. There's hygiene kits that we'll be paying for, and as that's put out, there's going to be training classes and materials. These are just for the adults when other needs couldn't be met. That's working with another nonprofit. And then the $48,000, which is very low for an annual wage, will be for a full-time community case manager that will really substantially take off the load, which our Palmer Police are currently doing. And that's really what generated where all this came from.
I forgot to use the word concise. Is there any other questions for the council? Yes, Deputy Mayor Moline.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just one more question. So as I understand it, the case management, and I know that this is critically important, especially because we have been dealing with the vagrancy issue, and I know the benefits of that, but is the idea is to move them and act as a conduit to the specific programs that are available and designed to help, but not keep them right in the Palmer proper as like a medical facility or acting as a shelter.
Right.
Just to clear
I
that
believe
up.
the model is basically, if you remember, we had My House, Michelle was talking, and there's that kind of model of come in and it's a place to get help, but there's no congregate housing considered with any of this.
Thank you.
Councilman Best.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I appreciate the budgetary add in here. It's a little more transparent to the public. I really appreciate that, where they're just not seeing, it's just a pool of money and somebody's going to stick their fingers in it. It also helps us to explain how within the community that will be impacting this subsection of our populace. And I appreciate that. I appreciate everybody looking at different ways, because we all see a problem. All the solutions aren't obvious. So I appreciate you taking this perspective and looking at different partners. As many of us often are having problems with some of these memorandums of agreement, MOAs. Too many acronyms, sorry.
Yeah.
When we start talking about in support of, like when you start looking at the city's responsibilities, collaborate with Daybreak and support its efforts to improve health outcomes in the community. That sentence itself seems to be fairly innocuous. And I'm not going to cast disparaging remarks towards Daybreak, the group itself. I appreciate the work. I'm saying an entity. We throw this language in there, and then all of a sudden this entity's board shifts their position on what their view of the world is, whatever it is. While we were already had a memorandum of agreement. Now, if their policies change, I want to make sure that we can pull ourselves back. And I appreciated that we had the ability to, walk away from in the termination portion of it after 30 days. That's very clean language, where we have had that kind of language being discussed in other situations where it wasn't a severability as clean on our terms that this body needs to have. And I appreciate that being in there as well. So even though there are some words in here that are somewhat they lend you to have different connections of different things that are going on in the world. And I just appreciate the attorney's diligence in this review and making sure that we did have the ability to pull ourselves out of this in case the world changes around us.
Councilman Alcantra.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Everyone aligned myself with the comments of the previous speaker. I do like the fact that there's a 30-day out clause. And this, as Councilman Tudor mentioned, this is a one-year contract, expires the end of May of 2024. I think it's doing some positive things, and I'm very supportive. Thank you.
Are we ready to vote then? Okay, Madam Clerk, if you could call the roll, please.
Councilmember Ojala,
Yes.
Councilmember Best,
Yes.
Mayor Carrington,
Yes.
Councilmember Alcantra,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Moline,
Yes.
Councilmember Tudor,
Yes.
Councilmember Anzalati,
Yes.
unanimous.
All right, and although we still have 8 more action items, I think we might want to take a short break. At least I do.
It keeps going. Yeah, and then I gotta step up and get goes back.
I wish I would have known that.
Well, see, it was sitting there, somewhere it got lost.
Everybody keeps bringing his chair around, because nobody wants it.
Well, I'm sorry, I didn't know that.
Well, you're being very brave, you got there and talking to us, this is good. That's where I will talk. At least we have some feeling, but I'll try to do some research.
I'm surprised that the senior center does not have because that's the whole point.
I still do believe. But it's like, this is how you should be doing it. And you're gonna pass through, so they can do it, and they can do it.
Yes. So you're talking, so here's your problem, is that they have civil institutions. Well, that's really interesting. I think it's a non-profit. It's a non-profit. It has members.
No, it's my wife's. No, it has a, oh, yeah, she does, yeah, Josh. It was supposed to be the Bible verse. What's that? Yeah, it's Josh when I was supposed to, I think it was supposed to be the Bible verse, but it was also when we got married, so I kind of joke around that like, oh, that's all what I was. Hopefully she didn't burn rubber. She turns like a speaking. It's pretty bad. She gets me because I heard her for a long time, so I'm near her out. I'm like, oh, what are those about this thing? And I try to range it out, and she's like just got it like Steve Racer. It's crazy. Oh, she does. Yeah, sometimes she's like, he's not getting for me. And I'm like, why does it matter? We're going to end up the same money anyway. Yeah. I will say we do trouble with that light right there, you know, the one that it turns into a one lane. Yeah. One time, there was a couple of months ago, I pulled up there and the guy was in the front lane, and he was trying to get over and I was being a jerk. And I was like, nope, nope, nope. And yeah. So, and he almost hit me because he, you know, the light turned green, I started going for him, and he was turned in front of me, and I thought he hit me, I was like, yeah. Yes. Yeah. It's almost like came to see like Vinny to cut over. Yeah, they did. They always have. Yeah, I can't see. Oh, jeez. You know, like, yeah, I see a nice coordinator.
And so if these guys can't send an order, we can still postpone it to the next one.
Oh, I know, that was the point.
No, I don't know. I mean, I
Well,
was just
that's
thinking
what I
to myself,
told-
there's no deadline, I mean, right? So, I mean,
Not-
there is, but not
Good politicking, by the way.
politics.
Well, that last one, we didn't need as much information. I just insisted, no, if we're gonna have a memo of agreement, let's put it in there. Let's put the budget in there. Let's put it all in there so people can see it.
I'm like, I don't know enough about the fine details of this grant, but it sounds like the ideas were right about it. And I'm like, and then when you were like, oh, no, I need to talk to him.
Yeah.
I was like, that was actually a great part on his job for doing this. Give you kudos.
Well, thank you.
You ready?
Yeah, I don't know. We're missing Tom?
And,
Yeah. I'm not in a hurry.
no.
I'm mostly packed.
Are you? Are you good?
Well, I took off, I worked Sunday, so I took off half of whatever day last week. Forget what, and then took off so I could go to the ribbon cutting. So I did the ribbon cutting, which there was a lot of friends there. There was actually a few.
I know, Kimberly was over there, I didn't go, I was thinking about going, and then I ended up getting called for
It's
something
kind of
else.
windy.
I'm just gonna go to support, because I mean, I think it's one of my favorite things.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, yeah.
And so,
Oh, yeah.
No, I
I
know
gave her
you
my
said-
card and I told her to call me.
yeah.
And, well, and I mentioned to her, I said, there's an ombudsman, because you need an elder.
Oh,
And-
right.
And they were at our resource day. They actually had a table.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so I need to,
Yeah,
like,
I don't
Polly
want
or
to take it
my
like that.
wife, oh, no. I mean, and I have toured both the facilities. My mom lived in Chugacha Estates for 10 months, and so it's like, I understand. You know, and Linda Combs has been close for the last year, so she's terrible about asking for money and talking about it. And it sounds like all the other ones were just as bad. And so, I mean, they kept spending their money without, you can't get grants to do cognitive therapy.
No, I knew that. You said that. I heard
And it's
that.
like, so,
There's best, let's bring it home.
is Thomas in there?
Here you go.
There he goes. All right. Thomas. All right.
Okay, interesting.
We still have a little more business to do, so we will call our meeting back to order. I guess that's the turn.
Yeah.
And now we have action memorandum. Action memorandum number 23-030, approving a request for Arctic Winter Games 2024 to waive facility use fees up to $32,205 for the usage of the MTA Event Center and the Palmer Train Depot during March of 2024. So I believe we need to get a motion to get it on the floor.
Mr. Mayor, move to approve.
Okay. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. All right. Do we have any questions or clarifications we want from the manager?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Moline.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through the mayor to the city manager, can you explain,
Well done.
to me what the actual $32,205 is for? I would like some specifics, please. Thank you.
Yes, specifically for the use of our MTA event during this event. The cost for that would be $32,205 that they are asking, allow us to use this facility, donate this facility to us, and that would be our cost if we leased it out during that time.
So,
We are not giving, well, let me kind of back that up. So essentially, the 32,205 is for not paying for the MTA center and whatever activities we do to promote activity in downtown Palmer. That would potentially be our cost that we're going to come back and ask you to approve. So essentially, it's a 10-day event. 10-day event. They'll have different activities. We want to draw all these visitors, as many as we can, to downtown Palmer. So we have been talking about a couple nightly events that we would do. We want to do promotional materials to promote this. We view this as pretty much for the Mat-Su Borough a once-in-a-lifetime. It won't, even if, I shouldn't say even if, when this is the best event they've ever seen, the most we could hope for is this to come back in 32 years. So, so this is a big facility. So essentially, we're getting credit for our effort and investment in this, and they are asking from the city council at this point in time, allow us to use the MTA Event Center at no charge to us.
Mr.
Yes, follow up.
Okay, so I'm a little confused, okay, and I'm gonna get into the nitty-gritty here. So the clerk had emailed the city of Wasilla. City of Wasilla is not donating the use of the Menard Center. They're receiving a nonprofit discount and a fee waiver, not 100% of it, for use of the facility. So, so I'm just gonna ask the question again, because 10 days, I had received a quote, or was indicated that a wrestling camp who wanted to rent the facility was roughly around $7,000. And there was no like in kind encouragement at all. In fact, we were said, no, that's a no. So I'm just kind of unclear as to the 34,000. Look, I want, because I think this is a great thing for the community, I think it's a great thing for the kids. I just want explanation and clear understanding of what that expenditure is. And it needs to be fair. Are there like, is there flags associated with this? Is there branding? Is there something else within this, or is it just the facility, the use of the facilities?
So the request from this organization solely is for the use of the facility at no cost during this international event.
Is it one facility or two?
Two, right?
This, correct, this and a depot.
Two facilities.
During this time. So, however, doing this a national event, there is levels and status and benefits by how much is donated. So what we are asking for is that you would recognize everything that we do to support this event by being a larger corporate sponsor. So for instance, we give the chamber a discount to use our facility, the depot, during its bi-monthly meetings. So they pay, but they also get a discount. We wanted credit for that discount to be the major corporate sponsor. I think that says status for our city. That's what we are attempting to do now. So it will be the use of the depot, use of the MTA Center, primarily the MTA Center, but also to anything that we do financially or effort-wise to support this operation.
Thank you.
Now, the details on purchasing and acquisition will come back to City Council. If there's any budget items as far as what we are acquiring or purchasing, that will come back and get approval of City Council. We do not anticipate it being larger than a $32,000 total package. And we understand what Wacilla's doing. We knew that kind of going in. How to say this? You know, Palmer, there's something special about Palmer. I want this to be the center of this. I've had discussions with the mayor of the Mat-Su Borough. This is their endeavor. We try to do things with them. They really need the city of Palmer to be to help and sponsor with this here. You know, likewise, you know, we just got $2 million from them for a water project. So we're trying to be cooperative here and trying to make this a best face and opportunities. I think, you know, this could be an advantage for our business community, for events that our kids could participate in. And that's, you know, that's kind of where we are. So it's not a straight $32,000 for not charging for the depot or the ice. But we try to make it all encompassing. You know, a lot of times you ask that, hey, is this all the cost there? What is all this involved as opposed to a small piece? We try to look this over, but we think this is a benefit to climb up that corporate sponsorship ladder. And that's why it was set up this way.
Okay.
Any other council members? We'll give you a break.
Yeah.
You can come back.
That was just.
Councilman Alcantara, did you have your light on? Okay. Any other councilmen have questions of the manager about this? Okay. Deputy Mayor, did you?
Yeah, I just.
Continue.
Thank you. It's just clear as mud to me, but I want more transparency when these things come before us, with a kind of a list of, as you laid it out, with a little bit more perspective would just be nice. Thank you.
Yeah, so the 32,205, that's for X for the event center and Y for the depot, and then added together is what it equals?
And, you know, I wish Mr. Hanson was here because he's the one that worked through this project. He had to be out of state for this. But this is all anticipated costs that could come from the city of Palmer on this event. But it will be a potential loss of revenue for the use of the depot and the use of the MTA Center. And also too, for the wrestling camp, I believe there's a different rate between ice and not ice for the MTA Center, which comes into some distant differences there also.
Oh, yes, Councilman.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I guess I was thinking, so by waiving these facility fees, we are losing some revenue. But on the other hand, we are also probably going to gain revenue in sales tax and whatnot from everybody staying in the town, right? And that's kind of.
Yes, it will. We believe this will be a boost. I want to say it will not offset these costs.
Yeah.
It will help, but this will cost the city of Palmer to be a host of this event. You know, so there'll be a lot of activity, and I believe that was explained before.
Yeah.
I believe they're in a Palmer High School, Palmer Middle School. They have a bus system to get people from Wasilla over here. We want to find a way of drawing all that traffic to the city of Palmer and really kind of be, as much as we can, a host of this in our town.
Thank you.
I guess I wonder if maybe we should consider postponing this to our next meeting so we could get a little more details, more discussion on that, or will that cause, is there a time crunch on this?
Yeah, we will, or, okay.
It's actually 3
I'm
weeks.
sorry, can you wait 3 weeks? Okay, it's fine. I think the partnership is important. I think this is going to be good for our town, but it's, you know, it's not without cost. We can have that exactly breaking down what that 32,000 is actually going for, and how that is broken down. And I apologize by not having those details tonight.
Okay. So, the council, Councilman Best.
Thank you, Mr. Manager. Mr. Mayor, excuse me. To the manager. I appreciate this effort. I'm really looking forward to the Winter Games. And you know, when we do the in-kind, I think that's the best bang for the buck that we can give to organizations, our facilities, and it also helps to make sure that they're going to be coming into our downtown Palmer area. It's also supporting of the youth. You know, this is something that's going to come back and pay dividends to us in time. What I'm hearing is that there's concerns that while this is a good deal for this group, we want to make sure that our processes and our procedures for offering these kind of venues to other groups is square and fair against everybody. And that's what I'm hearing. And so I'm actually okay with what we have before us tonight, but this conjures up a discussion for another time on our policy aspect of doing these kinds of in-kind so that we are reflecting the same transparency and process to all groups that are out there. And so that's what I'm hearing. And so it might not necessarily need to postpone this situation, but it might have another discussion later on in the summer or something like that.
I don't know, I guess I found this particular part of the packet a little bit light.
Okay.
You know, so I guess I don't mind postponing to get a little more details involved. So if the council wants to, we need a motion to postpone to the next regular meeting.
Motion to postpone, please.
Motion to postpone to our next regular meeting on June 13th. Is that second? Okay, by Councilman Ojala. Okay, there's no discussion. Okay, all right, Madam Clerk, if you can call the roll, please.
Councilmember Anzalati?
Yes.
Councilmember Tudor?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Moline?
Yes.
Councilmember Alcantara?
Yes.
Mayor Carrington?
Yes.
Councilmember Best?
Yes.
Councilmember Ojala?
Yes.
Okay, unanimous.
Okay. Next, we have action memorandum number 23-031, authorize the city manager to negotiate, execute, and commit a down payment of $25,000 for a sole purchase of an ice resurfacer from Zamboni Company USA, Inc. What's the wishes of the council?
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion, questions for the manager on this? Yes, Councilman Ojala.
Thank you. To Mr. Musi. So is this going to be, an electric one? That's what it looks like?
Yes, sir.
Are we going to have to upgrade our charging facility at the facility for that?
I do not believe so, no.
Okay.
Any other questions? Councilwoman Anzalati.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just noticed at the bottom of the summary statement, that it says the proposed price will not exceed 194,000 FOB. So I'm hoping I understand this correctly. So we have the 25,000 set aside for the Zamboni itself, but then the actual shipping price might be a lot more. Is that correct?
So what we have already approved and set aside for past budgets, $136,000. We have an additional $75,000 that Mr. Hanson, on behalf of the city, was able to acquire at a grant that should be adequate for this.
Thank you.
Any other questions for the manager?
Yep.
Councilman Alcantra.
All right, thank you, Mr. Mayor. So, once again, it is kind of anything that you purchase, are we looking at winter of 2024 by this 500-day shipment idea? I mean, we're looking at sometime around October of 2024, if I'm doing my math.
You know, that is, you know, certainly possible and probable. Yeah, I mean, we try to get equipment as fast as we can. I think the loader you approved, it's almost a miracle that you said yes tonight and we're gonna get it before the snow flies. We're still a year and a half out on the street sweeper that I wanna sit in the shotgun seat as soon as we get it.
All right, any other questions of the manager? All right, Madam Clerk, if you could call the roll, please.
Councilmember Best,
Yes.
Mayor Carrington,
Yes.
Councilmember Ojala,
Yes.
Councilmember Alcantra,
Yes.
Councilmember Anzalati,
Yes.
Councilmember Tudor,
Yes?
Deputy Mayor Moline.
Yes.
Okay, unanimous.
All right, action memorandum number 23-032, authorize the city manager to execute change order number 4 option with an Alaska Sure Seal in the amount of $46,000 for yellow curb painting along roadways. What's the wishes of the council?
Need a second?
Moved and seconded. Is there any questions? Comments? Okay, Madam Clerk, if you could call the roll, please.
Councilmember Anzalati,
Yes.
Councilmember Tudor,
Yes?
Deputy Mayor Moline.
Yes.
Councilmember Alcantra,
Yes.
Mayor Carrington,
Yes.
Councilmember Best,
Yes.
Councilmember Ojala,
Yes.
unanimous.
Okay. Action memorandum number 23-033, authorizing utility connection for AMG and Associates located at 12821 East Scott Road, Palmer, Alaska. What's the wishes of the council?
Second?
Moved and seconded by Councilwoman Anzalati. Is there any questions for the manager? All right, Madam Clerk, if you can call the roll, please.
Councilmember Tudor,
Yes?
Deputy Mayor Moline,
Yes.
Councilmember Anzalati,
Yes.
Councilmember Alcantra,
Yes.
Mayor Carrington,
Yes.
Councilmember Ojala,
Yes.
Councilmember Best.
Yes.
Okay, unanimous.
Next is action memorandum number 23-035, if you're following along, this is a typo. Authorize the city manager to execute a contract with HDL Engineering Consultants in the amount of not to exceed $32,545 for construction administration services for Reservoir Number 4 installation repairs project. And yeah, the correct number is 035. Just for the record. What's the wishes of the council?
Second?
Been moved and seconded. Any questions of the manager? Okay, Madam Clerk, if you can call the roll, please.
Deputy Mayor Moline,
Yes.
Councilmember Alcantra,
Yes.
Councilmember Tudor,
Yes?
Councilmember Anzalati,
Yes.
Councilmember Ojala,
Yes.
Mayor Carrington,
Yes.
Councilmember Best,
Yes.
unanimous.
And now this is action memorandum number 23-034. Authorize the city manager to negotiate and enter into a contract with Northern Installation Solutions, Inc. in an amount not to exceed $867,568 for the 2023 Palmer Reservoir 4 installation repairs project. And again, that's a typo corrected to be 034. What's the wishes of the council?
Second?
Moved and seconded. Any questions? for the manager. Madam Clerk, if you can call the roll, please.
Councilmember Ojala,
Yes.
Councilmember Best,
Yes.
Mayor Carrington,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Moline,
Yes.
Councilmember Alcantra,
Yes.
Councilmember Anzalati,
Yes.
Councilmember Tudor,
Yes.
unanimous.
All right. Number 7, action memorandum number 23-036, authorize the city manager to purchase under the governmental and proprietary procurement section of Palmer Municipal Code 3.21.2350, 50 used golf carts not to exceed $125,000. What's the wishes of the council?
Second.
Moved and seconded. Is there any questions for the manager? Councilman Alcantra, you must
real-
be the golfer.
Yeah, real quick, do we have a place where we're picking up 50 golf carts at $2,500 a pop? Is that the deal?
That is correct. Our golf course manager, Mr. Cullum, got a smoking deal from some good friends down south. We even made calls and had a meeting with Dan Sullivan's chief of staff to call them to make sure they called George back. So yes, we didn't get him for free, but we got a pretty good deal.
Yeah. All right. Madam Clerk, you can call the roll, please.
Mayor Carrington,
Yes.
Councilmember Best,
Yes.
Councilmember Ojala,
Yes.
Councilmember Anzalati,
Yes.
Councilmember Tudor,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Moline,
Yes.
Councilmember Alcantra,
Yes.
unanimous.
All right. Action memorandum number 23-037, authorizing the city manager to execute a contract with HDL Engineering Consultants in the amount not to exceed $32,510 for the construction administration services for the 2023 Evergreen Avenue and Airport Road Pathway Project. What's the wishes of the council?
Second.
Moved and seconded. Is there any questions of the manager? Councilman Alcantra.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yes, just real quick, I'm just curious by nature. There's 2 different $32,000 and change contract administrations, and one is for like an $867,000 project, and one's for like about a $400 and something thousand project. Is that just kind of the base amount for any project? Thanks.
Mr. Manager.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
what is provided is oversight of the project. So it's really not very much dependent on the actual cost of the project unless the project expands a significant area. So these two are setting up the bidding documents initially, that was correction, setting up the management documents of the project on site with an inspector or two while the various construction aspects are going on, and doing reports to us and managing the project on our behalf. We just don't have the people or the expertise to do that. And as I said, it's fairly easy and not very labor or time intensive. So that's why they look very similar, even though the cost of the project is very different. A lot of the cost on the insulation one is the insulation itself. Very, very expensive.
No more questions? So, Madam Clerk, if you can call the roll, please.
Councilmember Anzalati,
Yes.
Councilmember Tudor,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Moline,
Yes.
Councilmember Alcantra,
Yes.
Mayor Carrington,
Yes.
Councilmember Ojala,
Yes.
Councilmember Best,
Yes.
unanimous.
All right, no unfinished business, there's no new business, record of items placed on the table.
Parking plan memo for Manager Musi and documents for Ms. Lewis.
Okay. Next, we have audience participation. We're open for audience participation. Please state your name at the beginning, and you have 3 minutes.
Hello, my name is Eric Anderson from Palmer. Thank you for authorizing that purchase order for the golf carts. Long overdue, as is a lot of things that we've seen come down the pipeline, and more to come, I'm sure. My question is with that, can we can we inventory the older ones? And I noticed at the back of the golf course, and I'm not pointing fingers at the manager, I think he does a great job managing. But it seems to be a boneyard of old equipment. And some of it, I've had my eyes on for 10 or 12 years. Can we maybe auction some of that stuff off and/or get rid of the old carts to the public? Because I'd like to buy one of those too. And I'm just, we need to clean the place up a little bit and get rid of our old inventory, so we know what we got. I mean, we don't need to develop an old boneyard of wrecked out, junked out stuff that we're not gonna be using anymore. Next thing, Arctic Winter Games, that's a big one for me. I'm looking forward to it. I brought up a question off the record last meeting, and I ended up bringing it onto the record at the borough level. And I hate to be the guy to have to ask this question, but it's a kind of a lesson learned when we're inviting, or we are asked to invite other organizations and things into the city, is transgender athletes. And I specifically hated to ask the question, but do they support transgender men athletes supporting as women? And that's a case I think that the city should ask when people are asking for solicitation of funds. Other public entities, whether it's to use the parks or the library or the depot, I think we should just come up with a policy that, people have the freedom to act and say and choose to be what they want, but that's not necessarily something that needs to be forced into the public. Also, lastly, we're dumping 800-some thousand into the re-insulation, that's just insulation of a water tower over off Trunk Road by the hospital. Most of it's gonna be covered by insurance. I just wanna reiterate the point that that's a long ways away from the core of Palmer. And to this year so far, I haven't got confirmation of any new homes being built in Cedar Park, but relative $850,000 could have supplemented the developer in helping her tie into city utilities. And by this time, had that happened, you'd have 200-some homes already sold within the city, which are homes everybody in the state wants, modest homes. So thank you for your time, I appreciate it.
Anyone else for audience participation?
Okay, I'm Travis. I live in Palmer. I like to, I like to share some ideas for the Winter Games. I'm all for it, but how are we going to support all the people that wanting to visit? I mean, there's barely any hotels in Palmer, and so I would suggest that they would start building them. And also with the railroad tracks, the train depot, I think it'd be a nice idea if we, bring in visitors by train, so, because it's a good way to get a lot of people in there. It's just a thought, And one thing that's kind of been bothering me with the library books, and I know that I can say this because the person who's not here right now, saying about freedom of speech. Well, I'm all for freedom of speech, and I think she didn't, not once did she mention about the children. I bet when she was a kid, she probably read some of those books herself, and that probably ruined her mind. But anyway, I'm all for freedom of speech and and all our rights. But there's also a paradox that I've learned in school. If you want to have freedom, you have to give up freedom, so you can be free to. So I can have freedom to not be exposed to certain, stuff that children should or teenagers or below legal age should be exposed to, because it's important to know that even when you're an adult, your brain is still developing, and it won't stop developing until in the 24, I think. That's what I read. And another thing, I would like to know how to start putting out motions on the board I'm still pushing to request funding for disposal bins around the city. And I know that the mayor is responsible for coming up with these ideas for the city, and I would like to be part of this. So I thank you for letting me speak. Yeah, that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else for audience participation?
Good evening, everyone. My name is George Collum. I'm your golf course manager, and I have J.D. Mitchell, the superintendent of the golf course. He takes care of all the grounds and runs the maintenance crew, and it's quite a job. I'm not going to try to do a real formal report right now, but the golf course is very busy. Things are going well. We just hosted the U.S. Open local qualifier, and that's a great honor. And even though we're off to a late start, we're so busy, I feel like we'll catch up to the last couple of years. I want to thank you for approving the golf carts. You're going to make a lot of people happy, including my staff, trying to keep up with keeping these carts running. It was probably our number one complaint from golfers visiting the golf course was just the carts breaking down, constantly having to go out and give them another cart. It's very inconvenient to the golfers. Renting a golf cart is $36 for a cart to rent, which is quite a bit of money. And so when it's not working properly, they feel kind of cheated out of their money. But I feel like we've done a good job of taking care of the public and making sure we gave them the best we could over the years. The carts that are being replaced are 23 years old. So the average life expectancy of a golf cart is 6 years. So we've done pretty good with that. I appreciate Mr. Anderson's comments about getting into that maintenance yard and cleaning it out. That's something that we've wanted to do also for a long time. We don't like all the stuff that's in there. We've picked through it quite a bit to use those parts for the carts that we can keep running. But it's definitely time to clean house and spruce that part of the golf course up, clean that up. So, yeah, I'm all for doing an auction or whatever you need to do to get some money back for the carts that you want to, the older carts, that'll help offset the cost of these new golf carts, which were a phenomenal deal. Just to give you an idea, the last 2 years, the golf carts alone have made the city $141,000. So within 1 year, you've got your ROI, and now we're making money. So it's a really good investment. It's one of the top money makers for a golf course, and all of that money goes to the city's side of the budget. So it's a great thing. Again, thank you. Thank you for your time.
Anyone else for audience participation?
Wes Palmer Bar. So can I drive if I buy a golf cart, can I drive it to work every day? And what I really appreciated is he presented the first time that we actually talked about making money in a while versus spending money. That's what I really appreciated. There was a lot of money going out. We also have to look at the side on how we're going to make money. Because a lot of people have their hands out. They want something. But thank you for bringing up the fact that the project's going to pay for itself. Just stuff to think about like that. Growing pains. You're going to hear that a lot from me.
Anyone else for audience participation?
Hello, Hello, I'm Jackie Goforth again. You know, when I first saw the images from this book, it was on the internet, and the libs from TikTok had put it on Twitter, and it was blurry, and I was horrified. I was horrified. You could still read what it said. So I ordered it on Kindle so I could verify evidence to see if that was true, and I was even more shocked and horrified. And since I know, I'm the type of person that if I see a child being threatened, I do something. And that's why I went down to the police department about it, because I had no idea that there was all this policy and procedure going on. I didn't even know the libraries allowed X-rated material in there for children. Now, I had a hearing on Thursday with the Matsu Borough about this book, because it's in Willow. And the people on the committee were all library associated. There were 2 from the library board and 2 librarians. And I was not surprised to hear First Amendment and that this failed as a whole to meet the Miller-Ginsburg test. Now, it says on the Miller-Ginsburg test that you have to hit 5 criteria. It says, the material is harmful to minors if a reasonable person would find that the material taken as a whole lacks literary, artistic, educational, political, or scientific value for persons under 16. It lacks scientific value completely. So it fails. The other problem is as a whole. It lacks as a whole because there's 5 elements there, and the other 4 are fine. Well, if you have 5 parts to your drink and one of them cyanide, your drink fails as a whole. As a whole, the book fails. The book meets the criteria for obscenity. It does. And just because I have attorneys and I have librarians telling me that it doesn't mean anything to me. I want somebody to look at that book and explain to me why you have masturbation techniques in there and how to get it better, and you have splurting penises, and you have oozing things coming out of women's parts. Tell me why that is being allowed to go to an 8-year-old. And I know that because we spoke to one of the librarians. The librarians say, it's not our problem what's on the shelf. Parents are responsible. You have signed the thing, and once you do, whatever your child takes, I can't stop them. And they were asked, if an 8-year-old comes in and picks up this book, which is meant for children, it's got cartoons, it's got the exact same problem Joe Camel did in Mangini versus R.J. Reynolds Tobacco Company in 1994. It was printed that way to appeal to children. So if an 8-year-old brought it to the library, you know what they said they would do? Check it out to them, because it's the parents' problem. I was even more horrified. So yes, I have an appeal. It will be in. And I want you to know the book is now down on the Palmer website. The Palmer website shows what's available. That's why when she first took it down, when I first brought it in, I was thrilled. I knew Palmer was a wonderful place. I knew the librarian would never be a groomer. But when it came back up, it's down again, and I want to thank you and thank her.
Your time is up.
Thank you.
Cindy Hedgens, Palmer. I got a couple of short little things. First off, I am kind of disappointed that you all voted for that free money. I'm wondering how we're going to be beholden to the Matsu Health Foundation a little bit later down the line. That kind of worries me a bit. You know, the Matsu Health Foundation got $15 million from the Bill Gates Foundation. Wow. You know, we have about 8 million people in the world, and if we do a really good job on healthcare and vaccinations, we can lower that by at least 15%. Yeah. That's who we're beholden to. And the next was, I was really glad that this was brought up by another speaker about the Winter Games, the Arctic Winter Games. That is one thing that I was wondering myself. So say we let them use these buildings free of charge. Are they going to have pride flags flying in there? Transgender athletes? This concerns me because I'm sick of this agenda being shoved in my face. So anyway, that's all I have. Thank you for being here every night, every other Tuesday and listening to us. You are appreciated.
Thank you. Anyone else for audience participation?
Mike Malewski, the last time I will be up here tonight. I wanted to draw your attention, however, to an event at 3 p.m. in the Palmer Depot this Saturday. There'll be a service for Howard Bess. We've mentioned him before, and if you're a reader of the ADN, you'll note that there's a rather lengthy obituary there. Howard was 95 when he died. It's hard to summarize in a brief moment or two his life. He was a college football player. He served in the U.S. Army. He was an ordained minister. He founded a church here in Palmer. He's one of the founding members of Daybreak, among other things. I had the privilege of talking with Howard once a week at least for 30 years. And I was struck by his willingness to step out. He certainly could talk. If any of you had occasion to engage him in conversation, he did speak, but he also listened, and he wrote. He had articles that appeared regularly in the Frontiersman. They were thoughtful. He visited people in correctional facilities, and more importantly, he was adamant that when someone left a correctional facility, someone needed help, there needed to be something there that was provided to assist them on the way. So I'm going to be there. I know there will be a lot of other people there on Saturday, and I would invite all of you. If you knew him, I think it's appropriate. If you did not know him well, then you may be able to understand how someone chose Palmer as a place to live and dedicated a good portion of the latter part of his life to enhancing the community. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else for audience participation? Okay, we'll close audience participation. No executive session. Council member comments. Deputy Mayor Moline, you want to start us off?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Well, I really want to say thank you to Saroma Kai, because I know that can be really intimidating to get a microphone in your hand. All of a sudden you get up, to talk in front of everybody, and you feel that rush, and you kind of stumble over your words, and you're trying to find your voice. And they did so well tonight, especially speaking in what is not their normal language. So it was exciting to see them and hear from them, and such pride in what they're learning. So congratulations to them. The other thing I would like to maybe recommend or maybe perhaps ask is there a way, or would it be appropriate for us to perhaps draft a letter as a body, if approved, or if everybody sees it appropriate, to Senator Sullivan about the current situation with the Chugach and the Colony Estate for Matsu seniors and that rent increase. And then, of course, like I think somebody had stated tonight, one of the gals had stated tonight, it's not necessarily the rent increase, it's that there seems to be something amiss over there that is causing some funding mechanisms to be questionable. So would it be appropriate, what's our level of involvement, and if we could maybe perhaps come back to the council with that. And I'd just like to ask for support in that if anybody is willing.
I support that.
I'll support that.
Okay. The other thing is that I really want to say I too am concerned, and I don't want, I think most of the city knows where I stand on these books in the library. They have no place in a city-funded library. I understand that it looks like Palmer is adhering to and being very appropriate in how they're managing this, but I do think that it would be appropriate to make sure that we're looking at our policies and maybe perhaps reviewing our policies to bring them a little bit more up to date and transparent. That process in order to remove a book seems to be kind of buried within, access, and so I'd like to see that be a little bit more transparent. But I'd like to ask for maybe perhaps support in a working group to kind of take a look at the processes, review the processes for the library, and then maybe perhaps open and enter into discussions about how we can better review and be part of that review with the library for these books.
Support that as well.
Okay. I don't know if it's appropriate, but hey, if we have first right of refusal on the golf carts, I wouldn't mind one too. I think that'd be pretty cool to be cruising around and, up in Brittany Estates on that. So, really that's all I have. So thank you.
All right. I don't know. Councilwoman Anzalati.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I have no comments at this time.
Councilman Alcantara. Are you speechless?
Thanks so much, Mr. Mayor. I definitely want to associate myself with the idea of drafting a letter for Chugach Colony Estate issues. My own mother is 93 and lives in Chugach now, and maybe lucky or not lucky for her, she has 8 kids out of 10 still living. So when her rent goes up $30 or $50, we all pitch in and keep her rent frozen, and not every senior has that luxury of having a bunch of kids that can contribute to their $200 rent increase. So I definitely appreciate the deputy mayor bringing that up. I wanted to thank all the testifiers tonight. There's some really good public testimony. I want to especially thank Mike Molesky for kind of his comments on Howard Best. I know my wife's out of town this weekend, but I'm going to do my best to make Mr. Best's service, because he did contribute tremendously to Palmer and lived a good long 95 years. So that's good, but he's still definitely missed by a lot of folks. I want to thank the city for the graduation photos of students, including my own, downtown on the light poles in Palmer. A buddy of mine who's a 1979 Palmer High grad, every year we go and walk the downtown and check out all the graduates, since they've been doing that for about 4 years now. I noticed a lot of them had either blown away or been twisted around, but I hope when the city takes them down, I think they end up back at the high school and give the students an opportunity to get those, because that's a really cool, special thing that the city of Palmer does, and definitely enjoyed. It was windy, and definitely can see why they're twisted up, but there's seems to be a lot less of them this year than there were in the previous couple of years. I contribute that to the weather more than anything. Lastly, I want to say that I'm going to bring forward something, or at least have conversations with the mayor and city manager regarding possible recycling situations that we could do in Palmer. I mean, I know about every other weekend I take my recycling out there to about 3 miles away out by the dump and do it there. I think having some kind of thing around the city would at least encourage people to throw their stuff in the proper receptacle. So I look forward to trying to explore those options that Mr. Friesen keeps bringing up to us. The last thing I'd say to Deputy Mayor is if you get a golf cart on up in Brittany Estates, you better take the governor off because you're gonna get run over by a lot of big pickup trucks. And you know I don't drive a pickup. So, thank you.
Councilman Tudor.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And thank you, Deputy Mayor Malin, for working so hard to try to help alleviate the situation over at Shugak. I know it's a difficult balancing act, trying to kind of keep the different worlds apart between, you know, what a entity's doing and what the city does. So I appreciate you doing that. I just want to say thank you to Palmer Soromakai. That was a great presentation. Again, as Deputy Mayor said, it's nerve-wracking. I still get like that myself, so it's great to see those brave students up here. And thank you everyone who helped out for the Palmer Cleanup Day. That was amazing. It really helps improve Palmer a lot. It just blesses everybody that lives and works here. And we're obviously doing Memorial Day, and I just hope that everyone will take time to just remember those who have given their life for their country, and not just them, but also for the families that are left behind, because that is such a deep, just powerful scar that it leaves on people, and it's just indescribable. So I just hope everyone can take that time, because it's important to take that time to reflect on that, so that way we don't take our freedom for granted. Thank you.
Councilman Ojala.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I don't have a whole lot to say tonight. I would like to congratulate the kids at, and everybody involved with Soromakai. That's going to be a life-changing event for those folks going all the way across the country, or across the world, I guess. I guess the books, you know, I've heard some folks talk about free speech and some stuff like that, and I can understand where they're coming from, but I can also understand that we provide the books for the community, and we have a responsibility to make sure that that is okay for kids to look at. And I don't feel like that limits the First Amendment. The First Amendment is still available to anybody who wants to buy that book online, anybody that wants to check it out at another library. Probably doesn't necessarily need to be in our town. And then the thing that's, you know, really I've been thinking a lot about is the situation at the senior center. Man, that's a tough thing. That's a tough thing. Those folks are on fixed incomes. I don't know. I would like to ask, perhaps, if I could get, I would like to know how many residents there are at that this is affecting, if possible. And I would like to know what the dollar amount is as a group that and possibly if there's any way we can help offset as a city some of those folks. I don't know if it's appropriate. I don't know how it works as far as that goes. But I would like maybe if we could just get some numbers and at least look at that. And I think that's all I've got to say. Thank you.
Yes, I heard your second.
Oh, thanks.
Councilman Best.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We've been dealing with a lot of issues over the last, I don't know, how long I've been on council. So there again, this is another situation where we find ourselves with hearing pains and consternation within our community. And it's an entity that we do not have control of. I have a little bit of pain, us getting involved in something that's not our business. On the other hand, we as individuals can always ask questions and to understand and to help bring that information back to the public forum so that we can explain and help the public understand the processes of whose responsibility it is. I'm all for that. There was several meetings many years ago where we sat here and we had members that were, they were either in those homes or utilizing the senior center, and there was a piece of property that the city had that was being utilized for the senior center that was held by the city itself. And it was originally given to the city for the senior center, for it to be operated. When they no longer needed that facility, we had packed chambers here. And they wanted us to just sign off the title and give it back to them so they could utilize it to help generate funds. Well, we did. What happened to those funds? Oh, well, you can look at the cost of how much their administration was costing them at the time. They were paying through the nose. And they are now coming to, oh, wait, we're out of money. And, well, there again, they have boards, they have a body that oversees them, they have their own budgets. This is a process that they go through. And now they're sitting there and their board is having to raise their rates. Well, it's because of lack of participation, just like we here at the city. The citizens have to participate to help guide us. It's going to be painful, it's going to be unfortunate, but it's not something that me as a citizen, I'm willing to subsidize to pay for other people's mistakes, because these are nonprofits or other entities that are going in and willy-nilly spending all their money. And I'm sorry, it pains me, but I'm not interested in getting, going across the line and getting into somebody else's business. That's my 2 cents on that aspect of it. When it comes to the LGBT thing, this is a national conversation that is happening, it's a worldwide conversation that's happening. If we look back, our country, many of the principles is about tolerance, that we tolerate other people's opinions, that we're not there to determine other people's way of life, that everybody it's all about acceptance and tolerance. But tolerance isn't acceptance. Acceptance isn't participation. So if you think about that, we tolerate other people having blue hair, but I don't accept blue hair as being a color of hair, brown, gray, white, okay? This is something that they're doing to themselves, right? But participation, if somebody wants to require you to participate in what they are doing, that's where we're crossing the line. And we need to get back to just tolerance. We don't want to destroy other people. I don't want to change other people's ideas or mindsets. I want them to be accepted for who they are and not require me to call them something else that they are not. And this is where we need, I believe, to get back as people to tolerate each other. Just a little something to think about.
And on the senior center issue, I guess I'm not quite understanding why we would send a letter to Senator Sullivan, but basically, go ahead.
That's okay. What I think the idea is that it gets the attention that it deserves. I'm not asking for us to get involved or overstep our bounds. The ask was, would it be appropriate? So if it's not appropriate, I'm willing to accept that answer. But I do think that it would give the attention that it deserves. And that was my thought behind it.
Okay. I just wasn't sure. I mean, I guess my first thought was it isn't the Pioneer Home and Veterans Home, which would be federally based. But anyway, we can have some more discussions and work on that. I was gonna say, a couple weeks ago, I met with the CEO of the senior center, and I was trying to brainstorm ideas of, hey, maybe we should rent their facility once a week to do, story hour with the kids or something, because we don't really have, talk to them about, they've got a whole bunch of vans, maybe we can try to figure out where some of the nonprofits, they spend a lot of money on taxis getting people around, maybe there's some ways to try to, trying to think creatively, not necessarily that the city would do it, but just trying to, think about it, but, use this golf course. Right. Okay, we'll go ahead and we will say we are adjourned now at 9:06. And, yeah, okay. I mean, I just
yeah.
wasn't sure, because